What exactly is a heavy? Well, by definition from the internet, it means having great force or intensity, having great importance or meaning, difficult to bear or accomplish, burdensome, slow in movement. Now, these are all definitions of what a heavy can do and what a heavy can be, but for me, having a heavy on your side has always meant one thing, and that's security. Whether you're having a good old-fashioned baseball bat fight in the local park with the kids from the next town, or you're dropping into enemy territory with nothing more than whatever you can carry in your orbital drop pod, there's just something comforting about knowing that you have a guy on your side who could pick you up like a tiny little baby and cradle you in his arms when you get scared. Speaking about comforting, there's nothing more comforting than the knowledge that there's a mass vigilante running around in my city, Gotham City, protecting us from all those criminals. With a sponsor, ownersaber.com's new Bat Saber. It's one of their new theme sabers, and it features the telltale OG black and yellow Batman color scheme and an engraved bat signal. The Bat Saber also comes with both the regular RGB blade, which is great for sparring practice in one's bat cave, and there's also a pixel blade version as well, which has an LED strip running throughout the entire length of the blade, which allows you to have all sorts of really cool looking effects. Check out ownersaber.com in the description below for more information. All orders will receive a free display stand and free shipping. Offer ends May 7th. You can also use our promo code EWOK, that's all caps, for $10 off. Well, thank you for your patience. On to the rest of the video. Let's take a look at some heavies. Let's start with the OG heavy, Chewbacca. He's not only a heavy as an individual, his entire species, which stands well above 7 feet tall and can live for several hundred years, is full of heavies. The Wookiees are a prolific heavy-making race. Chewbacca, like most Wookiees, prefers to use his ancestral weapon, the bowcaster. This was a very powerful and heavy-duty energy weapon that could easily send a stormtrooper flying into the air upon contact. You know, sometimes it's not just about the armor penetration, but it's also about intimidating the heck out of your enemies. And if a Wookiee roar doesn't make a piss your insulation layer, well, you're just stupid, because a Wookiee can easily rip your arm off when he gets close enough to grab you. And then he can also beat you to death with that arm. Chewie isn't just some dumb, violent brute, though. He's also an excellent pilot and mechanic. Let's not fall for the stereotype that heavies are always simple-minded. As a matter of fact, Chewbacca is a really well-rounded Wookiee. I mean, not only is he very intelligent, he also has a really sensitive side to him as well.
That sounds very scary. You must be so brave.
It's that sensitivity that allows Chewbacca to have great compassion for all living creatures. In Legends, Chewbacca was such a badass that the only thing that could actually kill him was an entire moon dropping on his head. Chewbacca is really the classic heavy, which is why he's been paired with all sorts of individuals in Star Wars lore, not just Han Solo. He's always a good choice. Now, we did a full breakdown on why Wrecker is such an underrated and underappreciated character, so we'll keep this section a little bit shorter. Now, Wrecker is not only the heavy weapons expert in the Bad Batch, he's also a combat engineer and demolitions expert and explosive ordnance disposal technician. These are all very complicated jobs that have a bit of overlap with one another, but are really quite different at the same time. Usually, you don't have 3 people doing this one job because it's just so difficult. This shows us that Wrecker is far more intelligent than we first realized. But just because Wrecker is intelligent doesn't mean he won't try to wrestle a baby Rancor into submission and win its respect and friendship. That's just not something a normal-sized human being can do. And so Wrecker's intelligence and strength makes him a very, very deadly individual. When Wrecker's inhibitor chip goes off, he takes out the entire Bad Batch, Tech, Echo, plus Rex and Hunter. They didn't even stand a chance against him.
Wrecker, I'm your friend.
Good soldiers, follow orders.
Thankfully, Wrecker in his default setting is very kind and also has this kind of uninhibited, childish view of the world. He's never quick to judge others and always is looking to have a good time, which is probably why he and Omega are actually really close pals. You know, oftentimes the big guys, they're the most relaxed and chilled out. And I think that just comes with the knowledge that no one can actually physically hurt them. And so they have much more confidence in themselves when they're around other people, and that makes them a lot more pleasant to be around. Generally speaking, men are going to be faster, stronger, and bigger than females. That's what I told my gender communications class in freshman year. Half the female rugby team was in that class. I'm self-destructive. But yeah, generally that is the rule of nature. But then there's Cara Dune, or as I like to call her, war crime thunder thighs. She proves to me that such generalizations, like the one I made in the beginning of this section, are stupid and also dangerous to say in front of Cara Dune. Because she is, to the T, the definition of what a heavy should be. Exposed guns, check. More exposed guns, check. And also, of course, impressive physical abilities, like that time she ragdolled Din Djarin the first time she meets him. She actually proves here that there is a material in the universe stronger than Beskar. It's Cara Dune's bare fists. You know, when I watch Cara Dune take out baddies on screen, it's almost as if we're watching a fighter portraying an actress who is pretending to be a fighter.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. What?
Now, ever since the Star Wars galaxy evolved away from vibroblades and vibroaxes to blasters, you might be thinking to yourself, well, a larger person is just easier to hit, right? Aren't ranged weapons the equalizer? I would respond to you, well, have you ever considered the fact that someone like Cara Dune can carry a much heavier blaster, which has more firepower? And if you look closely, this Republic shock trooper loves taking heavy support weapons and firing them from the hip like they weigh nothing, which is one of the telltale signs that you are looking at your heavy. It's like a timeless tradition for them. The whole Gina Carano situation was an L. It's an L because, you know, celebrities oftentimes bombard us with their unfiltered hot takes. And it's also an L because, you know, movie studios and execs are completely spineless and only care about the bottom line. If this whole Gina Carano situation had happened, there would have been a moment in season 3 where Cara Dune meets Paz Vizsla. And I imagine the two would compare their favorite vehicle-mounted weapon that they like carrying around like it's a loaf of bread. Maybe they would also do some friendly sparring or knife fighting, and inevitably they would fall in love. Paz and Dune, or as I like to call them, Poon, are the romantic couple that Star Wars has always needed. And let's be honest, Cara Dune is basically a Mandalorian already. She's already been accused of excessive violence and war crimes. And now she can just excuse her behavior like everyone else and claim that it was her religion that made her do it. Plus, Paz Vizsla is like the heavy of the heavies. He's got the perfect balance of strength, honor, and toxicity, and unlike every other heavy on this list, he's covered in full Beskar armor, which makes him almost indestructible. He's probably also the only heavy on this list who can be lifted into the air by a jetpack. Like a very, very big jetpack. I mean, this honestly shouldn't even be allowed. How could you have so much firepower and then make it that mobile? It just doesn't seem fair. And the way that Paz Vizsla goes down in the end is absolutely epic and probably slightly unnecessary, which is exactly the way a heavy should go down. Rest in peace, big guy. Rest in peace. Brasso is a great name for a heavy. He doesn't really need a last name or any further description. One look at him and a look at his name, and we know exactly what he's capable of, even if he doesn't. Brasso is the strong and gentle type. His size and really gentle and kind demeanor makes him the perfect caretaker. Whether he's watching out for his buddy Andor, or the village elder Marva, or even a droid like B2 Emo.
I can't leave you here alone. She wouldn't want that.
You could stay.
One night.
What a complete sweetheart. If you get into a fight with Brasso, you're a complete idiot and probably a jerk because Brasso does not even have a single mean bone in his body. And if you do fight him, he might even let you get a few hits in because let's be honest, you can't hurt him with your puny fists. Brasso's bones are just too dense and his skin has been thickened by years of backbreaking manual labor. I mean, this guy breaks apart Star Destroyers with his hands here. Now forget about bodybuilding, it's that practical labor strength you have to be worried about. You never see it coming, and then by the time you actually feel it, you completely regret your stupid actions. And should you cross that line and unleash a beast from within Brasso, it will be very hard to contain him. Which is exactly what happens at Marva's funeral. When gentle Brasso sees red, you better run because he loses himself completely. And let's be honest, he probably comes from a long line of like Ferrex berserkers. The fact that he's using Marva's funeral brick as a weapon in the scene, well, that's just the icing on the cake. The Wookiees are known for being terrific heavies, but another species known as the Lasat are also really good at being heavies. As a matter of fact, in one of the earlier drafts of the original Star Wars film, Chewbacca's character was a Lasat. And luckily, Dave Filoni, the creator of the Clone Wars and also the Rebel series, was a huge fan of that early artwork from legendary concept artist Ralph McQuarrie. And so when he created the Special Forces unit known as the Spectres, he made their heavy a Lasat, named Zeb Orrelios. A former member of the Lasat Royal Honor Guard, Zeb was an excellent fighter and an extremely strong individual. Lasat are massive. They're about the same size as Wookiees, but they also have very nimble feet with articulating joints, which essentially gives them an extra set of hands, making climbing a lot easier. After the Galactic Civil War, Zeb Orrelios would join the New Republic as a starfighter pilot. We even get to see him in the most recent season of The Mandalorian, and hopefully we'll see him again in live action in Ahsoka. There's Clone Force 99, and then there's the Imperial ripoff unit known as Task Force 99. Like the Bad Batch, the Imperials came in different shapes and sizes and each had their own special skills and abilities. Zuke was the unit's heavy, and he carries on the heavy tradition of wielding what should be a squad-operated weapon all by himself. Take a close look at that long tube on his back. That's no rocket launcher, it's a freaking mortar. Which makes Zuke the only heavy on this list who's capable of supporting his unit with indirect fire. Chewbacca's story is an example of what happens when a Wookiee is nourished and loved as a young one and then enters adulthood well balanced. Black Krrsantan's story is an example of what happens when a Wookiee gets kicked out from his tribe at a young age, causing him to wander aimlessly around the galaxy looking for purpose, until he finds a second life as a pit fighter for a bunch of evil slavers. Those evil slavers, well, they gave him a gift: permanent electrified knuckle dusters grafted into the Wookiee's hands. I don't know if it was worth it, but you know, the Black Krrsantan's experience as a gladiator basically made him one of the scariest bounty hunters in the entire galaxy. At one point in time, he even fights Obi-Wan Kenobi and almost gets the better of him. Now, Krrsantan might not be the easiest heavy to work with because he does have, you know, some emotional and social issues, and like most Wookiees, he loves ripping people's arms off. Now, a lot of people might see Black Krrsantan as some brutish and evil individual, but I think it's a lot more complicated than that. I think no one's ever treated Krrsantan with kindness. He's always getting screwed over by people, including his employers. I mean, this is probably why he's so full of anger and rage. It wasn't until the reformed gangster Boba Fett took Krrsantan in that he finally felt like he was a part of something larger.
So the Wookiee gets a melon and we don't.
Krrsantan, you want to share?
By appearance, Saw Gerrera looks like your typical heavy. He was always an anti-tank guy in his younger years during the Clone Wars, and as he grew older and more scarred, his love for explosives were much more visible on his broken body. But what makes Saw Gerrera different from other heavies is the fact that he's actually the leader of an organization, which is actually kind of rare for a heavy. You know, Saw Gerrera was an excellent tactician and leader, but he always lacked a larger ideology other than, let's kill Imperials. I would argue that his late sister, Stila Gerrera, was the yin to his yang. She did have big ideas. She was a revolutionary at heart and a brave fighter, but she always had a way with words that steered Saw's passions in a more productive and less destructive way.
We need to do more damage. A few dozen broken down droids will do little to free Onderon.
The people need to believe we can succeed. Without their support, our efforts are meaningless.
If they're afraid, they won't support us.
I don't understand. Why are they afraid?
They're afraid we're not strong enough to win. We need to earn their trust.
Now, Steele could have easily said, Saw, they're afraid of you because you keep killing innocent civilians and causing collateral damage. But Steele is Saw's sister, and she knows that that will set him off, and so she takes a much more neutral and diplomatic approach that even Saw can understand. Saw Gerrera is a cautionary tale of what happens when you take a highly dangerous munition and just put it in loitering mode and hope for the best. Sometimes a Hevy needs a little bit of guidance. Last but not least is the man who's named after the subject of this video. We of course are talking about Hevy. You see, all clones might have been made equally, but as they aged, they definitely grew and adapted to their own personalities, which is why I think, the clone army is a great example of why nature and nurture are both important. And the clone Hevy, despite being almost the same size as everyone else in his unit, was a natural with a Gatling blaster. Hevy had suppressive and overwhelming firepower coursing through his blood the second he became a clone cadet until his very last moment, where he sacrifices himself not only for his immediate brothers, but for all of his brothers in the clone army. It was thanks to Hevy's sacrifice during the attack on the Rishi moon base that the Galactic Republic was able to detect a massive Separatist armada that was on its way to destroy Kamino. So there you have it, guys, 10 Hevies from Star Wars. Let me know in the comment section below which one is your favorite and which one you would allow in your crew. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy,